Women make up roughly just 12% of sworn law enforcement positions here in the United States, and only 3% at the highest level, according to the National Association of Women Law Enforcement Executives. Well, Chief Celeste Murphy beat those odds earlier this month when she was confirmed as the first woman to lead the Chattanooga Police Department. Here to discuss is that history-making woman herself, Chief Celeste Murphy. Chief, welcome to the show and congratulations. I know you officially begin next week. Tell us what this accomplishment means to you.
It means the world. I mean, this has absolutely been a dream that's come true for me. I've worked my entire career for this moment, and I've done everything on the department to get me here, and it's finally here, and I'm just so happy.
Yeah, you're coming from the Atlanta Police Department. You rose up through the ranks there through a 25-year career. Incredibly impressive. What do you plan to do as the first female chief of police in Chattanooga? How are you going to change things? How are you going to make your mark?
Yeah, so I've done everything on the police department thus far. So I kind of know every aspect of, what runs the police department. And through that, I've learned and developed through being a supervisor, that sort of mentorship. And I want to make sure that I develop people to do the same thing. I've always been a person who's been visible in the community, and I continue to not only do that, but teach that, and I expect that for the department that I'm going to lead as well.
Yeah, a pledge was made recently among 150 law enforcement agencies across the United States and Canada, and that pledge was to increase female recruitment by 30% by 2030. How feasible is this? How do we make that happen?
Well, nothing's impossible. I want to first go into the community, and I have already been meeting a lot of the stakeholders in the community, and it's really about being visible. When you see someone that has a passion for this job that I do, it'll go across any gender, any demographic. Of course, intentionally, you want to reach those parts of the community that you want to make sure is also represented on your department as well.
Chief Murphy, I'm curious, and you know this intimately, you've lived this. What do women specifically bring to a police department?
A new perspective, a different perspective that's not necessarily always heard. As women, we often, sit in the background sometimes, and, our voice may not be as strong or as loud, but we always have that presence there that people listen to us. So I want to bring that into the department as well. I want to make sure that we have different, perspectives from women, from different cultures, a real, centered department. I want to have a progressive department. I want to make sure we stay on top of and in front of best practices, well-trained department, continual training. And we'll have that look of professionalism. I want to have a personable department because I'm personable, and there's nothing wrong with also being polite. But that's the type of department I want to develop there.
Yeah, and I know, Chief Murphy, during your time in Atlanta, you really were focused on two key components, among them community-engaged policing and violent crime interdiction. What did you learn in Atlanta that you want to bring to Chattanooga? We obviously, and you know this more than anyone, are seeing a huge uptick in violent crime across this country. What can you do, focusing on those two components, to combat that?
Yeah, so community policing has always been in my blood. I've always been out there and visible. The areas that I police are similar to where I've grown up, so it's a comfortable place for me to be. So it's not, a foreign thing. It's not new. So it's just going to be the same thing that I take to Chattanooga. Chattanooga has its own character, its own flavor, and that's what I want to enhance when I get there. Bring that out. I want to bring the police department to the community. I want them to see, what the community can do for the police department, what the police department is going to do for the community, and we're going to do it together. When it pertains to violent crime, one of my main initiatives is to deal with our youth. I want to get in front of, give them accessibility to things that necessarily they may not see, give them a different view of the world. And I think that we can create a path for children that leads them in a different direction from a life that, could lead them towards violent crime. So, that's my perspective, dealing with the children, giving them access to things, and I think that that's what's going to move the needle with this profession in the community.
Yeah, building that trust and starting them young. And I know many people might not know this, Chief Murphy, but you are a single mother to 4 sons. Tell me how that role has influenced your role as chief.
Well, I work around majority men, so I think I bring a calmness, necessarily in that relationship, and I think that helps me deal with the different characteristics that come across with men. I think that it also gives me a perspective of what it's like to be a parent who may have a child that encounters, law, on the streets. So I deal with it from that angle as well, because I want to make sure that any officer that's on a department that I'm on, that when you have an encounter with a police officer, it will be what the parent would expect them to deal with. So I have that perspective as well. So I mean, I with me having sons, I want them to be treated that way as well. So I want to make sure that I have a department that has officers that will treat our sons out in the street.
Yeah, Chief Celeste Murphy, we are so excited for you. Congratulations. It's a big job, and it starts next week. So thank you for taking the time to be on our program.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.